Let me also tell you that we're coming to you live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. And we have Yankee tickets to give away each and every hour today, and they're good ones, Yankees and the Angels. So you get to see the great Trout and Ohtani. There's games of the 27th and the... Are they all for the 27th? Let me see. They might be. Yes, they are. All for the 27th against the Angels. So very good tickets against the very good team. Stephen in Bayport starts us off. What's up, Stephen?
Oh, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think Hicks has to go out of the lineup. I would love to see them put Frazier maybe in left field or move Guardy over to center. Maybe just put him in left or center field.
See, they won't do that. They won't bury Hicks because Cashman likes him a lot, and they like the metrics with Hicks because of his defense. But his offense has never been consistent. He's never been a good offensive player. To me, he's a fourth outfielder is what he is. And if you look at his numbers against lefties, his numbers are atrocious. Now, he's only had a small sampling. He's only been up like 22 times. But his numbers are terrible. They don't have anybody right now with Bird out of the lineup to protect Sanchez. I'd walk Sanchez in any meaningful spot. I would not pitch to Sanchez. I would pitch to whoever's behind him. Austin, Hicks, any one of them. Walk would scare me more than the other guys. Shia in Queens, what's up? What, Shia? Who's this?
Shia.
Okay, what's happening?
Yeah, I just want to talk to you about the gambling. I think it's a very, very complicated subject, and I think I think you were right about it. I think it opens a lot more questions than than were before.
Well, there's a first question is it federal or is it state? That's the first question. Is it going to be controlled by one law, or is it going to be controlled by every state having its own legislation? Right.
So my full view on this, just like any vice, I think it has to be since it's a moral, right? So this is, it's basically you're making either the moral argument against it, or you're saying that the state needs the money. And if you're making a moral argument, it should generally be a local laws.
What is make the moral argument for me? What is the moral argument?
Well, I disagree. I think there really is no moral argument.
Okay, either way. So that's why. So we'll throw that one out.
No, but that I think that's the only reason why people would actually make it illegal, because otherwise there's no reason for it to be illegal.
It was illegal because of the fact that they were trying to protect the games. Also, how it is applied is the key. I mean, that's really it. Now, we live in a different world now. So there's technology. Apps will be the big bonanza here. It will not be bricks and mortar. It will not be you going to a casino or going to a mom and pop shop or going to a supermarket and wagering. The key here, the bonanza here for the companies that want to get involved is the apps. That is going to be it. The mobile betting on your phone. That is going to be, because everyone has one and you reach anyone you want to reach. So you reach everybody. That is going to be absolutely going to be the bonanza, and you're talking about a bonanza in the hundreds of billions of dollars. But remember one thing, the companies that are involved in bookmaking, illegal bookmaking, like casinos and stuff, make very little on sports gambling. It's a very small margin business. It's a very tight margin business. They do not make a lot of money.
Right. So I think here what the states have to do would not be making the money on the gambling itself. You'd have to just add a tax to everything. If the states added a tax, you'd make a lot of money based on the tax.
You see, you're missing the point. You know what the state's going to want to do? They're going to want to take 30% of the action. In West Virginia, they're taking 52% of the action.
Wow.
Right? 52%. So they're going to want to take a big chunk of the money. The states. They expect this to be a bonanza for them. They're going to take a ton of the money off the top. A ton. Right off the top. Eric in Westport. What's up, Eric?
Hey, Mike. I'm glad you're back. Quick question. I saw you in Saratoga last year. I didn't want to bother you. Mm-hmm. I don't know what your stance is on coming up to say hello, but
anyone, anytime, anywhere, anyone can come up and say hello. I have no problem with it.
Okay, you were with your kids, then I didn't want to bother you. But.
Well, I mean, listen, when I'm with them, it's a little different than it is normally. But I mean, still, it's no issue. It really is. If they're with me, it's still no issue. They're not little anymore. They're teenagers. They're just starting to be teenagers. They're 11 and 13, so they're old enough now. So it's not a big deal.
I didn't want to bother. So I actually disagree with you. Well, I don't want to say I disagree completely. I do think the mobile app is going to be where the bonanza is. But I'm an avid sports bettor. I go to I bet on horses a lot. I go to Vegas. I fly out to Vegas specifically for the point to bet on sports. This past football season, I was driving down to Delaware where it already is.
Yeah, but you're a hardcore though. The guy who goes to Vegas to bet sports is a hardcore player. That's not a normal player.
I'm not going to bet on mobile. I'd rather the.
Why not? Why not?
I live in Connecticut, and I want cash in hand after the game is over. And with the mobile,
you want to be paid right away?
And they do that on the app. Don't get me wrong.
Right, yeah, you can still get it within a reasonable amount of time. It might take you a weekend, but I mean, still, why do you need the money right away?
I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just a personal preference.
Okay.
And that's, and no reason other than other, but.
Are you a big player or are you a moderate player?
What's big? I mean,
big would be, I guess, big would be a couple of $100 a bet.
Oh, God, yeah.
I think that would be what you would consider to be at least where, if you're betting a couple $100 per bet, that's got to be a sizable bet.
Other thing, Mike, this is big. I have all the apps, all the Vegas apps. There's a couple
Gotcha.
There's the Play MGM app, right. And there's one ran by the company that works at the Cosmopolitan, the Hard Rock. They do all those. And just the user, they're not great user-friendly apps.
No.
And in Connecticut here, I think they've already passed legislation to legalize it, and I think there's a big fight between whether the casinos are going to get it, whether the Connecticut Lottery is going to get it, or whether the place called Winners, like OTB.
Well, that's going to be listen, you're going to have somebody licensed in the state to run it. That's going to be the thing, and each state's going to have somebody else. That's why if it's federal, it's going to be very different than if it's state by state. If it's state by state, you're going to have to be licensed in that state. Plus, the states are going to take a huge bite, as you know, out of this. A huge bite.
Yeah, and the margin, I read up, the profit margin is like 5% in Vegas.
5%. 5%. You're right. You see that? Now you know what you're talking about. That's what my point was to people. People think there's a bonanza here. The guys who do sports betting, they make 5% profit. That's it. That's a good year. They're working on 5% profit.
Here's something I wanted to bring up to you, and you'll get this. They were talking about the integrity fee, yada, yada, and they wanted to pass it along to the consumer. And a big bettor like me, if you want to offer a line that's just very simply like minus 115 on a point spread, I'm not going to take that.
Absolutely.
Because the big guys like me, like your average bettor will bet whatever.
Hey, Vig is the thing that fells any gambler is Vig. The Vig is what you're playing against. So you're absolutely right, and that's become much more prevalent in recent years. Rather than up the point spread, they up the line, make the game 3 minus 130 rather than 3 minus 110. As you know what I'm talking about. So and they make make the game harder to play into. Absolutely. So you're right from that standpoint. But remember, the question becomes what the state's role is. Is the state just taking a tax off the handle? That's probably what the state's role is going to be. They're just going to take a percentage of the handle. That's it. They're going to take their piece of the handle and then they're out. So what you need to know is, if you're talking about pools, what is returned in the pool? What percentage? Bobby in Mayapack, what's up, Bobby?
Hey, Mike, 67 days, Mike, to upstate New York.
Oh, to Saratoga. Okay, thank you.
Anyway, Mike, bottom line is, if there's money to be made with the gambling, they're going to get into it. Cigarettes are one of the worst things you can put in your body, and you could buy them. And if it's so bad, why are you allowed to buy cigarettes? So my point is, there's money to be made. They're going to get into it with the gambling. They figure, wow, we might as well make money with it too. Bottom line is the dollar bill, Mike.
Oh, listen, that goes without saying. Listen, these leagues now know it's legal, and you can tell from their statements, they're going to talk about integrity. What they're interested in is, now you remember Adam Silver was like, I want a penny on every dollar. That would be an enormous bite. That would not be, people think, oh, well, he wants a penny. A penny would be big. If 5 cents the profit margin, a penny's big, that's 20% of the profit. This is the NFL statement. The NFL's longstanding and unwavering commitment to protecting the integrity of our game remains absolute. Congress has long recognized the potential harms posed by sports betting to the integrity of sports contests and the public confidence in these events. Given that history, we intend to call on Congress again, this time to enact a core regulatory framework for legalized sports betting. This is going to be what the leagues want. They're going to want them involved. Now, remember, in some of these cases like DraftKings, Jerry Jones and Bob Kraft are owners. They are investors. And those companies are going to be involved in this. They're going to be as big in it as MGM will be, or Caesars, or Churchill Downs, or Mohegan Sun. DraftKings is going to be in. FanDuel's going to be in. And they're owners of these companies. We'd like to work with our clubs to ensure that our any state efforts that move forward in the meantime protect our fans and the integrity of the game. The NFL wants there to be multiple wages, which means like, you know how when you were a kid or maybe a grown-up, you went to the coffee guy and the coffee, the guy who you buy your coffee truck, and the guy has a sheet and it's, you have to go 3 out of 3 to win 4-1 or whatever it is. That's what the NFL wants. They want that kind of gambling because the game isn't fixable. Now, remember this. Professional athletes are not the target for fixing. There is no way to fix professional athletes. No way. You can't make a bet big enough to what you would have to pay these athletes who make a lot of money. That doesn't mean an official isn't culpable. We know they could be. They could definitely be culpable. Someone like that. But as far as the players, they are not the issue here. The salaries for the players has gotten way past the idea of this being an issue. It's not an issue for the players. It is an issue. It could be an issue for officials, though. This is from the NHL. The Supreme Court's decision today paves the way to an entirely different landscape, one in which we have not previously operated. We will review our current practices and policies and decide whether adjustments are needed, and if so, what those adjustments will look like. It's important to emphasize that the Supreme Court decision has no immediate impact on existing league rules relating to sports wagering and particularly wagering involving NHL games. So while changes may be considered in the future, today's decision does not directly impact the operation of the league or any other clubs in the short term. This is utter nonsense. They are going to make gambling legal. The NHL doesn't have any way of stopping that. There's nothing they can do. They can't go to court. They can't stop it. So they have no way of stopping it. It's going to be made legal. They have to figure out how they want to participate now. That's the fact. Major League Baseball issued the following statement. Today's decision by the United States Supreme Court will have profound effects on Major League Baseball. As each state considers whether to allow sports betting, we will continue to seek the proper protections for our sport in partnership with other professional sports. Our most important priority is protecting the integrity of our games. We will continue to support legislation that creates airtight coordination and partnerships between the state, the casino operators, and the governing bodies in states that toward that goal. Okay? And the NFLPA, which already is involved, far-reaching implications for baseball players in the game we love. Basically, they're saying we want to have a relationship, whoever is dealing with this too. The player associations are going to want to have their handout. Voila. Everybody will have their handout. The states will have their handout. The municipalities will have their hands out. The leagues will have their hands out. The players' associations will have their hands out. The NCAA will have its hand out. Whoever controls the college football will have its hand out. Voila. Welcome to the new world. The question is first, state, local. Are we dealing, state, federal? Are we dealing federal? Are we dealing state? Most likely, from what I can see from people who follow this very closely, bet on state for a while. The federal will take longer. Not saying federal is never federal. States will be in business as soon as this Labor Day. There's no way the federal can get up and rolling that fast. Back after this.